Hey guys, welcome to Nifty World. I'm Vex, and in today's video we're talking all about NFT photography. It's the new upcoming trend which is seeing a lot of success. So if you are an NFT photographer and want to know how to get started in the NFT space, then stay tuned. Have I got an interview with an amazing photographer for you? And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, obviously like this video, and of course if you want to follow me on Twitter, then I'm at Nifty World on there too. But for now, let's dive right in. Right, joining me now is Tina Eisen, who is an amazing editorial photographer. Now, she has worked with the likes of Max Factor, Sephora. She's even shot David Beckham. But like many of us, the world of NFTs is something that has been relatively new, and there is a huge upcoming trend in NFT photography. And Tina is here to talk us through the 101s of what it takes to become a great NFT photographer. Welcome, Tina. Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you, and thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Listen, congratulations on your success on the NFT space so far. You've produced beautiful work and it's obviously been selling, which is fantastic. I wanted to start by asking what your experience was with cryptocurrency, the world of NFTs, and how you kind of got into this.
So completely honest, I had no idea about crypto. It was something that scared me, that I didn't ever think I would touch before the world of NFTs opened up to me, and I was sort of forced into it. Steep learning curve. I started looking into it. I slowly learned that it wasn't all that hard and all that scary as I thought. And most people that haven't experienced it, I know a lot of people think, oh yeah, but what are you going to do with a cryptocurrency? You can't use it in a shop. How can you put it into, euros, pounds, dollars? It's really, really simple. It's quite easy, and it's not all that scary. So I say to people, just give it a little go. In the beginning, I invested a very, very small amount because, as I said, I was really, really scared that something would go wrong and I'd lose all my money. So I think I changed like £100 or something into Ethereum at the time. And it was kind of like, if everything goes wrong, I've lost £100. But that was just me trying to get over my fear. In terms of NFTs, again, I'd never heard of it. Someone contacted me, a friend of mine. She said, have you heard of this? And I had to Google what it meant. I'd never even seen the abbreviation anywhere. So I looked into it. My first thought was, that's a scam. That's not going to last. But then,
and was it a fellow photographer that introduced you, or someone in the industry?
It was a fellow photographer, but she came from an angle of that her husband makes 3D motion art and 3D renders and stuff. So he had experience with it, and she told me, yeah, he's going to sell his stuff this weekend. So I kept an eye on it, and I actually watched him sell for a lot of money. And in my head, I was like, okay, so this is an actual person that I know that had massive success. So this can't just be a scam. This can't just be something like that. That's for the rich and famous already. This is something for people like you and me. And so I started paying a little bit more attention to it, just because someone that I knew was actively doing it. So I wanted
it. That's amazing. And when was this? How many months ago was this?
It was at the end of February, if I remember that correctly, because I think I minted my first thing roughly the 27th or something of February. So yeah, once I had watched them do it, then it just was really quick. Then I was like, right, okay, I need to try this. I need to speed learn this stuff now and get my own stuff minted as well. And yeah, so
was it
a year ago?
Half a year ago. So actually, I mean, you're an OG in the space, but for a lot of people, that's actually, there will be people watching this video now and watching this in the future and still going, I've only just got into the space. So that's how early you were with this. Finding the information for how to mint, how to learn what you needed to do, the technical side of that, back in February, was that easy, or was it much more difficult?
There wasn't as much information available as you have now. Now there's plenty of tutorials. Every other page and social media shares some tips and tricks. And for me, it was more learning by doing, I have to say. So me installing MetaMask, that sort of stuff, doing the first mint, I just had to try and do it and Google how it works. However, there was already a bit of a community on Twitter that would be more than willing to help if you would put a status and you would ask people for some feedback or some help, people would happily have your back there. So the community was always quite strong, but now obviously tutorials and aid has been produced, so it's a little bit easier for someone to find material if they wanted to.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember I had my £100 in Coinbase and had to transfer them over to MetaMask for my first mint, and it was just the scariest moment.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm never going to see that money again.
Yeah, I think I have that every time I purchase any money from my MetaMask. Triple check your wallet ID like a million times. Yeah, it's unknown territory, and it's still evolving, and it's obviously something that some people are more nervous than others about, and some people just go for it. And I think, did you kind of look at it and look at your artwork and think, I need to produce new types of photography for the NFT space, or were you able to take what you'd already shot and reproduce it for mint?
So the first couple of things that I minted, so I obviously was a stills photographer to start with, so non-moving image.
Yeah.
Everything I saw succeed in the world of NFTs was all motion. It was all little clips. It was all animated work. So immediately I was like, nah, imposter syndrome hit, and I was like, I need to try and animate my work, or else I'll never get anywhere with it. And at the time, photography was not really a thing in NFTs. Like there was a couple of us that like tried it. So we were under the impression that we can't succeed with non-moving work, and I started animating a few of my pieces, which did also sell. But then through the weeks and months, I learned that there is value and there is a market for the non-moving photography as well. So I continued the small animations just to add a little bit of drama to my pictures, but I sold plenty of just photography as well.
I wouldn't say it was just photography. Your composition and style is so striking, and it's really beautiful stuff, because obviously you've got that background in beauty photography, so the close-ups on the mouths and the lips and stuff is stunning, but then you add this. I love the one with the Bitcoin in the mouth. Yeah. I assume that was done specifically for NFTs, right?
Yeah, it was just at the time, I think it was in March or April, I think Bitcoin hit a massive milestone. I don't fully remember what it was. I want to say like 60,000 or something. I think it was somewhere around there. So I thought, you know what? I don't actually really own any Bitcoin, but I'm going to try and hit the crypto gang, so to say. And it worked really well, because those pieces were, I would say that was a turning point, because they got a bit of traction. They got lots of interest. And yeah, I think after the Bitcoin, I did the Ethereum, but then I never really did anything crypto related again, because I was able to just use my own style really, and just continue with the, the bees and the flowers and all that sort of stuff.
And how would you describe your style? Because it's so unique.
I feel like provocative isn't the right word, but I do want to turn heads. I want someone to stop scrolling, to like be like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, exactly. Like attention grabbing. Provocative, maybe a little bit in a way that stuff like the bees, for example, I'm fully aware that a lot of collectors, they have told me that, are scared of stuff like that. There can be phobias, they can be disgusted by that, but I figured that I should just be true to myself and work on themes and topics that are close to my heart regardless, and that always works best. And there will always be someone out there that goes, hey, bees, amazing, cool, I love this, this is brave, this is striking. So yeah, I feel like rather than catering to the masses, I want to explore who I am and put that into my work.
Yeah, fantastic. And I have to ask, how much of it is in situ and how much of it is done in post? Like, do you have bees hanging around and you just capture the shot?
I actually have bees, funny enough. So I'm not much of the composite artist. I'm really quite bad at that, but there is an element of that. For example, there's a picture where there's like a lipstick and an earbud and a finger and some other tool. With the self-portraits like that, I work 100% by myself. So I don't have anyone clicking the button or something. So these are composited from like 4 pictures. But it is really minimal. So I do actually have bees in my fridge. Sounds quite embarrassing, but so
and those are your lips, right?
My lips, yeah. So
Wow.
this is a project that was born during lockdown because I couldn't work with other people, so I started working on my own pretty much. But yeah, the bees, I'm lucky enough to know a beekeeper, and no bees are ever harmed in the making of these images. I always, when he clears out the hives, I ask him to keep the dead ones for me, so I can give them another
Piece of life.
lease in life. Yeah. That's it. But yeah, they are real. And I'm super, I grew up like loving creepy crawlies. So I'm really not scared to touch anything. Like if they were alive, I wouldn't care either.
Yeah, that's amazing. So home studio, home dead bees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All locally sourced.
Yeah. And do you think that because obviously this was born through lockdown and you know, having to have that, has that changed your style of photography just in general?
I will continue. This is something that was born out of desperation, but I won't stop doing it. So I have learned that you don't always need massive teams. You don't always need a model and a makeup artist, this and that. And that when people aren't available to collaborate with you, you can still crack on, and you don't really have an excuse anymore to sit back just because, for example, a model cancels in the morning. In the past, I would have just, you know, called it a day and played PlayStation all day. But now I'm like, no, you know what? Like, I don't have an excuse. I get the camera on and I get the lights on and I just produce with myself. I think it's a lot more liberating because I don't have anyone to ask now. It's not a situation where I go, do you mind if I put a bee on your lips? And people start screaming. Now it's like, no, I can do anything I want now without checking with anyone.
And I have to ask, so you mentioned the community sort of helping you early in your sort of journey to NFTs. And I think the community is so important for any NFT photographer out there who is looking to make that start, because there's a lot of photographers who may not have a community behind them. They may not have a fan base. Now, obviously, you were quite well known within the industry anyway, before you stepped into NFTs. How much did that help you in your journey on NFTs?
I'm going to say not at all. So my communities for photography, they were built on Facebook and Instagram, which aren't big mediums in terms of promoting NFTs, because that's actually Twitter. I would say Twitter is the main medium for that. And I think, like many of us, I realized, oh, damn, maybe I shouldn't have neglected my Twitter over the last 10 years because that was just tumbleweed. And so I kind of had to start from scratch there. And anyone that followed me for my photography was not interested in the whole NFT thing. I think we had to build completely new audiences and new communities in that sense. And then one tip I would say to people that are starting out right now, find yourself that community. This is not a one-man game to play. If you have the backing of people that can share your work, get it seen, get it under the noses of potential collectors, that is so priceless. I very early on joined a group of all female artists. So we were called the NFT Goddesses. We are still called the NFT Goddesses.
I love it.
And stuff like that is it's just so important that I share, and my whatever, like it was like 700 followers at the time on Twitter would see it. None of them were collectors or interested, but then if there was like 70 other girls that would also share it at the same time, comment and like it, and that's the only way that I would have ever made a sale, I think. And that's the only way my stuff gets seen now still as well. So don't ever underestimate the power of groups.
Yeah, well, actually, you know, I think that applies to anyone in the NFT space. Like when I stepped into the NFT space for my videos, I was overwhelmed by just how much people were like willing to share, willing to ask questions, promote it to their communities. And that's without me really knowing them. And then I would jump in Discords and start having more conversations. And actually, and I'm not sure if you find this, but Twitter Spaces and being able to talk about your projects is absolutely invaluable as well. And I think it gives authenticity to the projects because they get to learn or meet the person behind it. Do you participate in Twitter Spaces?
I do. In the beginning, we were still in the Clubhouse, but obviously, luckily, Twitter has caught up and came up with their own medium, which was Twitter Spaces. And you're completely right. To be able to talk about your work in person, I realized that really early on, a lot of collectors are not just solely interested in your piece of art, but also in the backstory. And the best way to tell that was, for example, through Twitter Spaces, or I got into a habit of making little videos like thanking a collector. That little glimpse of your personality is so important to share that, and Twitter Spaces is a good way to do that. I was listening to a Spaces before a few months ago, and there was collectors on there, and the way they explained that if they spend money, and especially a lot of money on an artist, they don't just want to invest in the art, but they want to see that your values and morals align with theirs as well. As an example, they don't want to go and give a couple of ETH to someone that does morally wrong things on their other social medias, that expresses opinions that are wrong, right?
So your reputation has to be consistent throughout whatever social space that you're in. Yeah.
Exactly. And I completely agree. I can see I have turned into a bit of a collector as well now. I want to support other artists, and I want to see that someone isn't like, you know, like a homophobe, for example. I don't want to invest my money into someone that has views like that. So the whole trying to get your personality across to collectors, that's another really, really big important thing.
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason why I love to interview creators like yourself, because I think for your audience as well as mine, it gives that authenticity. And, you know, some people love to hide behind an avatar, right? Yep. So actually seeing that you are a real person who actually does this as a real job is it's an opportunity for people to feel like they get to know you, to feel that you're approachable, and to be able to understand what you're all about, really, which is fantastic. And I'm learning so much already, so it's great to be chatting to you. My next question for you is around pricing. Pricing, and also finding the right platform to sell your work on, because NFTs, it's the Wild West, right? So, and there's NFT art, which is slightly more established, but I do still think that NFT photography, it's still up and coming, and there's still opportunity for it to grow. And one of the biggest things, and I've mentioned to you that my husband is a photographer and looking to mint his work, the biggest thing that's probably holding him back is because you're giving away this one piece that someone will always own, and you will hand that to them. He wants to make sure that he's not underpricing that. Yours looks really fairly but well priced, and I wonder how you came to that conclusion.
Yeah, I think again, it was a bit of a trial and error. I had barely any other photography work to compare myself against. So I kind of looked at the 3D work, like I said, and I was like, okay, right, these guys are charging whatever, like 5 ETH. Mine isn't moving. So I'm definitely not going to charge anywhere near there. And this is going to sound really funny. I'm really into numbers, and I'm really superstitious. So back in February, Ethereum wasn't as high as it is now. I think it was about $900 for the Ethereum. So, so again, like the price I gave my work wouldn't translate to what it would now. So I thought, right, my lucky number is 2, so I'm going to go for 1.22, and it was literally that simple. It was like just superstition. So that at the time would have translated around $1,200 maybe dollars. And I was like, well, I'm just going to give that a shot, just based on what I've seen other people do, and it worked quite well. And then over time, you kind of learn. This sold within 30 minutes, so maybe I should just crank it up a little bit higher, like that sort of scenario. And you sort of learn, and I learned to differentiate between, as I said, the moving work, the non-moving work, the close-up work. You kind of learned what the demand was, and then price yourself accordingly. So that's what I've done. And then obviously there's something called a floor, which is the lowest your work would be available for, and you should just be really disciplined and try and never lower your own floor. So if the lowest I have ever sold was 1.22, for example, if someone now offers me 0.5, I know it's very attractive. I know it is a lot of money for us, but you will then do your previous collectors a justice by underselling yourself. So hang in there. And I know people get a lot of hate. People are like, I've had that problem before, and someone said, someone offered you 0.5. Why are you not accepting this? Why are you being greedy? It's nothing to do with that. You have established that sort of floor for yourself. So
You have a responsibility for everyone that's bought from you previously.
Exactly, that's it. So if someone paid 1.22 and now I give it away for 0.5, they're like, great, you just crush the value of your own work with that. So yeah, be disciplined and try and keep your floor where it is as well.
Do you have different ranges of pricing for, or have you yet to release, I suppose, hero pieces, which will be valued a lot higher because they're important to you, or they're the pieces that maybe you're translating from your in real life work over to the NFTs, but you haven't done that yet?
I have a collection in the works right now that I think will be more of a hero because they took me a lot of time, and also I'm mixing media for the first time. So I think I'm really excited about that, and I want to price it up a little bit more just because of the amount of time that went into it. So I'm looking to release a series soon that is a mix of photography, not just on myself, spoiler, but also because I'm a traditional artist as well. So I do watercolors and mixed media like that. So I'm going to merge those for the first time, and then hopefully apply motion sort of animation onto it as well. Nice. So I feel like I'm merging all the mediums into one, but I'm really, really excited. I might try and launch that onto a different platform as well. So yeah, I hope that will be a different style and also a different price range.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I was going to ask, actually, you mentioned obviously the motion work versus your static work. Are you obviously you started with the motion work, but are you finding now that maybe the static is overtaking, or how is that balance working?
I would say it's still 50-50. There is people that want to look at something that's moving, and that's just their taste. And I get it. There is even in my static work, I've always tried to add an element of drama in terms of motion. And the only way I was only ever able to do that was, for example, like some flowing hair or some like strong expressions. But I think actually adding a bit of animation to it adds to the picture. So I'm in favor, and I understand where people are coming from, but I don't want to scare people away that don't know anything about animation, that don't do that have still image. The value is there just as much. There's just as many collectors out there that find value in a static image than in a moving one. Some people find it gimmicky. Some people don't want the motion; they just want a picture as well.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think it's really good to appeal for taste. I think that's a really good idea. And as an artist, when you look at the NFT space, are you saying for yourself that you'll always continue to make work for the NFT space, or do you think that it's something that you think you'll do a curated collection of X amount and that will be it, and you'll get the residual from whatever that on sale is in the future?
I'd say it's an ongoing thing. Just the joy that this has given me, just to be able to get value from existing work and be produced specifically for the industry as well. It's just been such a relief for me, because we all came out of a year of pandemic where we couldn't really produce, and then suddenly in February someone went, that picture you showed, like, can I have it? And so I feel like it was sort of like a turning point for me in terms of like mental health a little bit. So I think I will always continue doing it. If anything, I feel like I'm not doing enough of it yet, because we all still have day jobs. So.
Yeah. What? It's so interesting that you mentioned mental health, that there is an amazing amount of people, myself included, who have turned to NFTs and found that it's really helped with mental health issues. And I think that's one of the many positives of the NFT space. And I think that comes down to community, the people supporting each other, the works that stimulate you, lots of things.
So true. We were, it almost gave me a reason to create again in a way, but also for many of us, it was the first time that we were actually valued appropriately, and people were willing to give us some money for what we had created, rather than just many of us create and do test shoots, this and that, solely for Instagram, and just get a little bit of traction and get our work seen and find potential clients, this and that. But for someone to turn around and go, I consider this a piece of art, I want this on my wall, I give you good money for it, that's actually the first for many.
And that's how NFTs is going to change the creators' economy, isn't it? Because finally, there's lots of photographers and artists who have always relied on having to be put into a gallery to get their work sold. And that can be, you know, here in the UK, it can be quite a snobbish thing. You know, you might not fit to some, you know, a gallery's taste. Like my husband has been told with his work that it's too provocative and it's too erotic. I don't think so, but you know, that is that gallery's choice. And so he kind of goes, well, how am I supposed to sell this at the right value if I'm not being taken on by a gallery? And then NFTs come along. Yeah. And it's in your hands. You're in charge now. So this must be just a game changer for your artistic sort of licensing and artistic ability now.
Definitely. It definitely was. So yeah, because as I said, like, just as you said, like the community and all that, like bringing that together and being given value in a way is just the best thing. So yeah, it changed me. Like we all had a crazy tough 18 months, but I honestly now sit back and I say, like, NFTs happening, even though they were around longer than what I've known it. But that's, you know, me being aware of NFTs this year, it was literally a life changer. It was amazing.
That's amazing to hear. So what platforms as a photographer have worked for you? And is there one that you continue on, or have you spread across multiple platforms?
So when I started back in February, obviously there was a massive big hype on Foundation, which is still a perfectly fine platform, but there was the misconception that you had to be on one of those to sell, when you could perfectly just mint on Opensea without an invite. But yeah, there was a bit of this, like, you know, you needed an invite, so there was a bit of elitism feeling about it, and people just thought they had to be there. I used Foundation, it worked perfectly fine, served its purpose. Then I got invited to Maker's Place, and that for me was beneficial, just because different and bigger, better collectors were hanging around there looking for stuff. And I kind of like the system a little bit better, because on Foundation, when someone first bids, you then have 24 hours. The auction ends after 24 hours after that. Whereas in Maker's Place, you can set prices, you can accept any time, and that sort of model appealed to me a little bit better. But then meanwhile, I obviously got a little bit into collectibles and stuff like that as well, as in buying them, not selling them. So open space just became my second kind of stomping ground, whereas in the beginning, Opensea, sorry. Opensea, I'm like mixing platforms up now.
Yeah. But that's a new one.
Yeah, it's a secret new one. no, yeah, Opensea, sorry, I'm mixing them all up now. So yeah, Opensea is just like, I love Opensea just as much now, whereas in the beginning it was kind of like, anyone gets on there, there's no invite, don't use that one. But it's just, you know, it doesn't really matter now. Obviously there's still like the big ones like Super Rare, which is like a dream to be on there, but I think it's all more level playing grounds now. Like people have great successes no matter where they are. People have massive successes on Opensea, on Foundation, on Maker's Place, whatever nifty whatever they are.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I think the interesting thing about Opensea is, you know, there's so much on Opensea. Yeah. And so there's art, there's collectibles, but there isn't actually a section for photography as such. So I wondered if actually you felt that you might be lost a little bit in Opensea for that reason.
I think you would be lost, just like if I posted on Maker's Place and never made a shout about it, I would also be lost within a couple of hours. But your discoverability comes from your own marketing. So if I would mint on Opensea or on Maker's Place, it's all about me then going onto Twitter, telling people about what I've done, building some hype, getting it shared, sharing it. Yeah, I think the traffic comes from your platforms anyway, not from
just being visible
organically. Yeah, because a lot of people were saying, for example, Maker's Place, Foundation, they do that sort of like curated page where there's like some features in the front. The chance of ending up there is minimal anyway. So you're going to have to do your own work and your own marketing anyway. So I feel like it doesn't really matter that much. Yeah, there's less people on Maker's Place, less people on those. Like, so people coming across your work is more likely, but that's a very small percentage of how people will ultimately discover you anyway. That comes from Twitter, I would say.
And did you find, I suppose, any new NFT photographers out there will be wanting to know this question? How much were the upfront costs to start minting and getting going on this?
So I was lucky because Ethereum was low a few months ago. So I think my initial mint, I want to say, was 40 quid.
Okay.
But then that's very, very good. And then within a few weeks, my next mint was 200. So it changes so much. And it's all about, obviously now I had sold one at that point. So I was more willing to sort of spend some more in minting. But I have watched plenty of photographers that have gone all in and spent hundreds without ever selling one. I think just be sensible. Like if you're willing to spend $100 or two on your first mint, I would sit back and sell that before I then minted the next one, just for the reason that you want to, like manage your loss a little bit in case nothing ever sells, which can also happen. But I think I was always sensible with it, and I never spent anything that I wasn't willing to lose in that sense.
And just for clarity, is it the case that every piece you mint, you have to spend, it costs you individually? You can't like bundle everything together and then put that up?
I think you can. I mean, on Opensea, correct me if I'm wrong, you only pay when it's sold, don't you? So I think your minting cost always only comes when you have sold. So that's a lot less risk to start with. But also you can do collections there, and I think you will mint those once. I don't want to say anything wrong, but because I was on Makerspace and on Foundation, your cost will always be upfront there, and also collections on Makerspace, you have to mint every single one again and again. So there's more clever ways, aka OpenSea. But for me, the two platforms that I chose, it was always an upfront cost.
Yeah, and like you say, like there's no actual overall benefit from being on those platforms. It's down to you and how you market it to where you're going to drive that traffic. So that's amazing. So it does. And I think, I think even if someone is coming into this space and like you was going, I haven't used Twitter for 10 years, you can still build that community. You can still do this. We're still early, right?
That's it. Like the best time is now, honestly. I always have people like, oh, it's too late now. I can't get into NFTs because they had their boom. Like, no, like the second best time is now. The best time was yesterday. And the same goes for crypto, because you mentioned that earlier. Plenty of people are like, yeah, I'm not going to buy Bitcoin because that has had its time. No, we're only at the beginning of all of this. So like, even if you start now, that's still a good time. You might be a little bit late compared to February or compared to last year, but you
never
still
too late. And just to kind of wrap this up, I've got two more questions for you. First one is, what does the future look like for you in the world of NFTs? I'll ask you the second question. I'll let you answer that one first.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish I would. Well, I wish I'm gonna. So this is the plan. I will focus a lot more on creating art rather than doing the day job. So I want to put a lot more time aside to do what I love, which currently I'm not doing yet because I still have a day job. But yeah, I want to do what makes me happy, and I want to really push what's possible in the world of NFTs and create more. I'm toying with the idea of putting little collections out, so that might be something that happens. And also I want to explore collaborations a lot more. I see other people do it, but it's such a good way now for people like me that don't really know about animation, like I said, to get together with someone that does know, and they might not know about photography that well, and create something epic together. So yeah, collaborations is the one.
And again, that just builds a bigger, brighter community within the NFT space, doesn't it? Which is just all really positive. So my closing question for you is, what top advice would you give for anyone who is a photographer coming into this space and wanting to make a success, as everyone does? From your journey, what would you say is some good advice for them?
I would say don't wait for that foundation invite. Get your work minted on OpenSea. Less risks there. Don't spend more money than you're willing to lose is the second one. That goes for NFTs and for cryptocurrency. And last but not least, community is key. Like I said, you will not make it anywhere by just minting something and letting it sit there. You need to really get your marketing boots on. You need to find communities. You need to learn that groups of people and others on social media are not just there to support you. You need to give back as much as you get. be there for one another, and also find joy in, once you've had success, to actually give that back and buy a piece from one of your friends, and that feeling is just as good as making a sale.
Yeah, absolutely. And just for clarity on what you just said about minting on Opensea, not waiting for the foundation invite, for anyone who doesn't know, you can't have the same piece on both platforms, can you?
No, yeah, you can't do that. That's it's not just a no, that's not a thing. So obviously by minting on a blockchain, you are verifying that this is whatever edition you call it, is a 1 of 1, it's a 10 of 10. That means that it has to remain a 1 of 1 and can't appear anywhere else.
Yeah. So think carefully about which ones you're going to mint and at what price and where you're going to put it, basically. Well, listen, Tina, thank you so much. I appreciate that you've come to me to have this interview during your holiday. So I appreciate you doing some work in your downtime. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned so much from you, and I'm sure we'll continue this conversation in the future, but I want to wish you every bit of success. And I'm sure after this video, you'll get lots of aspiring NFT photographers going to look at you on Twitter and ask for some advice from you. So I'm glad that you're coming to it with open arms, because obviously that community is key. So thank you so much. Wow, what an amazing interview with Tina Eisen. She's an absolute wealth of knowledge within the NFT space. And like all of you guys that have been watching that video, she started just by learning for herself. So you are not too late into this space. Please do give it a go. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and found it useful, then like the video. Don't forget to share it with your other photography friends or any other creators in the space that might find this useful. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because there's always great videos that are coming your way week on week. And of course, if you want to contact me, don't forget to tweet me at Nifty World as well. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.